Alright guys, so sit back, grab a cup of coffee, like me. Yes. And sit back and relax, because this might be a kind of a movie video, if you will. So I've been recently asked, and it was so funny because when I made a video, when I made a couple of videos back, I was going through my book of shadows, my public book of shadows, and I'm going through there, and I'm just totally remembered I've been asked this question by one of my subscribers. I think it was like 2 months ago, and I feel so guilty not replying back to any of it. It was through an email, and I wish I would have said something back saying, hey, I'm making a video, but it's going to take a moment for it. Why spells work sometimes and sometimes not. And I got this information from, I think, spellsandmagic.com. If you haven't been on that website, you should actually check it out. I'll put a link down below. It's really simple, spellsandmagic.com. Magic without a K. It's run by Pazui. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's kind of one of the first sites that I have actually ventured through for spells and magic and information. He does wide range of everything. So he's not really focused on just one tradition or one sect or one clan, if you will. He kind of does a wide range. So, and I want to bring it up, so I'm giving props to him. This is not my information, this is more of his. There are 8 things. Oh, sorry, 8 things, sorry. It's kind of backwards on you guys. There's 8 things that this helped me actually, personally myself, that actually helped me figure out why my spells doesn't work or not. There's also a ritual, that, not a ritual, but a little incantation that I do over tarot cards. I go from there to figure out what's worth it and what's not. Why is this not working? Is it worth doing a spell? Yada yada. But he writes in here, you got 8 things: the moon phase, the proper materials and supplies, the mental condition of the practitioner, the will of the universe, the experience of the practitioner, the magical energy built up by the practitioner, your belief in the magic you are working, and the proper spell. So the moon phases, he talks about briefly here about the new moon, the waxing moon, the full moon, and the waning moon. The new moon is particularly used as a regenerative moon, or kind of don't do spell work during those times, but I am guilty of doing spell work during those times because that's really one of my strongest moons to work with, is the full moon or the new moon, which is, since this phase is very similar to the waning moon, waning moon, it is used to rid some self things. A waxing moon is the first quarter moon. That one you want to work with when you increase things, when you want to bring things, new beginnings, situations. A full moon is, of course, literally you can work with a full moon. The waning moon, of course, is the opposite polar of waxing moon, is to shed things off of you. Nevertheless, you can cast any spell at any moon phases that you really want to work with. So let's use this for instance. For example, if you want to do a love spell and it's the new moon, and you're like, crap, I have to wait for the full moon to do the spell. Not necessarily. If you think of it, shift your ideals or reverse your ideals and just say, I want to cast don't want to be lonely spell versus I am ready to welcome love into my life. I'm going to draw a lover out of the sky for me, per se. So you can banish the loneliness, and it's still classified as a love, excuse me, I'm kind of burping, as a love spell. There's so many ways you can work around this. It's kind of like you're figuring out the back door or the second door to the issue. Proper materials and supplies. This is a very these are so very important. Proper materials and supplies. Not necessarily, it doesn't have to be like you have to have an Anthoney to cast a spell. So be it. Figure out different avenues that you can work with, but supply it in form of sense. Now, some people may kind of disagree with me on this situation, is where you don't need supplies for anything and you can just direct your energies yourself. Yes, if you're stranded on an island with nothing. But it also helps to have a candle. It also helps having an incense. Sometimes it's not the actual tools or materials and supplies that has power to them. Sometimes it helps influence the practitioner or the person who's drumming up with the spell. It helps them to feel that notion to do a spell, work with magics. The next is the mental condition of practitioner. This is a very effective, and I think most of us can agree with this in the situation. This is a very effective thing. You can't go into a ritual angry and expect love out of the situation. You can't go in it thinking you're so cocky and ask for money in the world. Like, you can't really come at it like that. Sometimes, and this kind of crosses a little bit of the laws of attractions situation. Laws of attraction is, if you want money in your life, then you gotta think money, you gotta consume the idea of money. But it also connects a little bit. So, like right here, if you're trying to do a love spell, you must have the emotion of love for the situation that you're going in. So you can't just go in there, and he also says, because he also believes in hexing, he's like, you can't expect a hex to work on someone if you're in a jolly mood while performing the spell. You must be in sync with the type of spell you are doing. Plus, you must believe in your work and not have doubts. You really got to clear your mind, and that's when you have to clear your mind before ritual and whatnot. You got to like flush out whatever thing. Because when you're working with energies and you're working with such things, not to say every little idea is going to be input, and that's kind of too much overthinking the situation. But you can't go in, try to hex someone, jinx somebody, and be like, I'm gonna jinx you, la 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 la, la 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 la. Like, can't turn into a musical, even though it'd be kind of crazy to watch it. But yeah, so think about your mental state. Sometimes you have to park the spell and figure shit out in here before you jump in. The will of the universe. Sometimes when you have everything set up, sometimes when you do everything that you are required to do for a ritual and it's just not working, there is a rhyme and reason for everything. And the universe is just working something out. Some spells work instant. Some spells take forever. Some spells will come in, spurt, and disappear, and then come back again for round 2 and spurt again. Energies and spells, just spell work, it's just kind of not a timing base. There are people that put time on their magics. I like to not put time on my magic, because if it doesn't come to fruition on the time that I want, like, the spell's going to work at midnight no matter what. And sometimes when that happens and it doesn't work at midnight, I'm shot down and confidence out the window. So sometimes it's just the will of the universe. It's just, it takes moments. You know, Rome wasn't built in one day. Experience of the practitioner. So this is also a really, really, really big thing in your spells, why it doesn't work, is the experience of the person. I can't necessarily rely on someone who casts one spell and expect to lead a ritual the next day. I would say that's too much pressure to put upon somebody. It's kind of like you train them one day at work and you just throw them on the busiest day and you expect them to be one of your top servers, if you will. Experience is kind of thing. And to gain experience on stuff is try it out. Try the spell out. Just do it. If you see there's no consequences on harming anyone, you don't see it as per se like you're gonna, like, you know, and as you can see, like, it's gonna pan out. Also expect fails. That's how you learn. It's a first fail is really it's first an attempt and learning. I think that's what it is. So you're basically doing your first attempt and obviously it didn't work, so you're going to do it again, or you're going to recraft it. That's how you kind of master the spell. And you guys will get there if you're not there yourself. The magical build up in the practitioner. This is also a little really good one to add into it. Some people call it the cone of power. Some people actually call it the hype, is what I heard just recently, where you just hype yourself into the ritual. It's basically the oomph of yourself. It's basically you creating your energies and creating your magics, if you will, into the spell. Your signature of all things. You're trying to like put it in there. It's your oomph. So it could be anything. It could be, you know, your vision. It could be like a psychic thing. It could be just a funky dance. It could be just you listening to like really good Marilyn Manson music and you're just getting into it. It could be anything. It's just the energy built up that you're going to put into the spell. It's you drumming up your energies into the magic, into the spell, into the ritual, if you will. And your belief in magic that is working. You have to have confidence, and you also have to have trust in the situation and a little bit of faith, if you will, combining both those words, that it's working. And this is where it comes back to the timing. It's kind of really hard to put a timer on a spell and expect it to happen, because this is where it usually shoots me down if it doesn't happen at midnight kind of situation. So I don't put any timing on my magic, but sometimes it's like set it and forget it and walk away from the situation. And that is a situation that you need to really put your effort in. Is to, you know, do your ritual, do your spell, light that candle, do whatever you need, protection, and just know that it's working. Know that it's there. Know that it happens for a reason. So everything happens for a reason. Again, back to the will of the universe. It happens for a reason. So 8, last but not least, is the proper spell. And that kind of goes back to the beginning about, you know, spell work with moon phases and whatnot. The proper spell. Let's face it. You must have a good spell. Some of the spells out there are pure crap, and some are really good. Some spells may work better for you than others. So experiment and keep a journal of your workings so that you will know which one works best for you and which one don't. Also, just because a spell doesn't work for you doesn't mean that it's no good. You may have not been on the right state of mind, or maybe you didn't have the proper materials. All above things on this page come into play. So like I said, keep a journal and find spells that work for you. Proper spell. And this is where I'm going to clash open like a whole bag of information. Spells that you see online, spells that you use in books that comes with your books, not necessarily are the best spells for you. Sometimes they're just the crappiest, shitty spells that you use. If you feel, like he said, journal, write down information and everything. If you feel like you should use some of those spells, go for it, and have fun with it. I like to be inspired by the spells, or I like to use them as rough drafts as spells. So Dorothy Morrison is one of my favorite authors on spell work. She's one of the reasons why I write down most of my spells. She makes me feel like, and this is the message I want to give to you guys about proper spell work, is that you should feel that you shouldn't be rigid, or you're forced into like a situation where you have to use certain materials and certain spell work and certain things to make a spell work. Dorothy Morrison makes me feel like she throws down a couple Baileys, couple lavender, and yarrow, and she goes, here's the phase of the moon, here's this, here's a little chant, what can you do with this? And kind of throw it on my back and make me figure out myself, make me think, how am I going to craft this out? Okay, yeah, bam, my spell, this is my spell love protection. And she could have got the different thing in a situation, blah, blah, blah. But that's one thing I like about Dorothy Morrison, and it's one thing I want to usher out for you guys who are new to the craft or new to spell work, or just, you know, this is also just, you're looking for a little extra information about spell work, is that sometimes it's best to do your own spell work, do your own things, but also don't feel like you're stuck into one situation. Remember, the moon phase, you can work with anything and whatnot. But yeah, sometimes spells work and sometimes they don't. And there's a rhyme and reason for everything. And that is my answer to that to that subscriber's question is, why do spells work and sometimes they don't? So there's a rhyme and reason for everything, and if you have all those 8 things checked off properly and still a spell hasn't worked, or still it hasn't done anything, then maybe it's just not ready, or it's time, or maybe you're not ready for that. And one of those check-offs obviously wasn't fully checked off, so overlook. So till then, guys, thank you for liking and subscribing, and sorry if I'm wearing the same outfit, but I thought I had the house myself and I'm making a whole slew of videos so you guys could have material. Till then, guys, like and subscribe and comment, blah blah blah. Blessed be.